Now, we've talked about a lot of times separating ourselves from the way the government's going, politics, and all that stuff. We've talked about that. How you remove yourself from a mindset that has to do with who's the next president and all of that earthly stuff. We've talked about it. What we've not really harped on yet, and we will be, is the separation when it comes to the spiritual side. Now, for those of you who have followed Too Strong for a while, you should understand by now that we cannot separate our message from that of who God is. That's not possible, so don't ask us to. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. So you can park that option somewhere else. It's not going to happen. So, with that in mind, the separation we're talking about has nothing to do with whites versus blacks, whites versus Hispanics, race, nothing. It has nothing to do with class, with money and poor, nothing. The separation we're going to talk about is the separating of your goals related to mankind versus your goals related to God. You see, because eventually you're going to have to choose. Because this is just the natural progression of where things are going to go. If you say you believe, by the way, there's going to become a section in time where it's going to happen whether you want it to, by the way, where a line will be drawn and you're going to have to pick. And that choosing, you better be fully convinced that the choice you make is the one you want. This has nothing to do with the color of your skin, the nation you were born, the political party you're affiliated with. This has to do entirely with your heart and who it follows. We were called to be separate. Period. Hands down, separate. Holy, set apart, different. We were not called to blend in. We're not chameleons. In fact, if we are anything at all, we are the most luminescent, brightly colored, large-winged butterfly amongst a whole field of dead flowers. That's how separate we are. We are supposed to be seen amongst a whole slew of what others consider alive flowers and be completely starkly different from the field. But many of us want to dive below the plant line and blend in with the ground and blend in with the stems and blend in and not set apart ourselves. Why? Because it's easier. We lazy. It is a natural inclination of the flesh to want to do as little as possible to get the most reward. Just look at children. Clean your room. They go, they pick up 2 socks, a couple of shirts, and they put them in a corner of the room, and they'll take all their stuff and shove it under their bed, and they'll come back downstairs. Da, 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 da. Room is clean. And then you go up, you say, you sure the room is clean? And they're like, yeah, it's clean. And then you say the magic words, I'm going to go check. And all of a sudden they say, whoa, 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 I think I forgot one thing. Then they take off up the stairs. An hour later, they come back down. Okay, I got it. It's all clean. Too many of us take the route that, hey, I can do just the minimum and get away with it. I don't need to completely separate myself. I'll just do enough to seem Christian, to seem like I believe, just enough. But that's not what we're called for. We're not called to mask. We're not called to slightly cover up. We're not called to lie about it. We're not called to just be a little bit different. We're called to a complete and utter separation. There should be no link spiritual between us and the world. Some time ago, the church used to stand for a lot. And over the last 40, 50 years, maybe even more now, probably more like 60 to 70, every time the world moves forward in more depravity, it almost seems as though the church has to keep up. So they can always say, well, we're not where the world is. Okay, we're here. The world is here. Meanwhile, the world's doing this and they keep doing this. The world's moving and they move. So after about 20 years, the world is so depraved, but the church is just as depraved as it was 20 years ago because they've taken the spot where the world was, but they're not the world. They're different. In their minds, they're still separate. But are you? Because you wouldn't be in that position if you were separate. You'd still be all the way back where you should be. You wouldn't care if you were called antiquated. You wouldn't care if you were called an old head. You wouldn't care if you were called too traditional. You wouldn't care about none of that. Because you're not following man's approval. You're following God's approval. So how does one separate? In the heart. You have to separate there. You can't be linked to the world with their wants and their needs. You can't be concerned about their way and what they have planned. You have to be about what God has planned for you. A lot easier said than done because many of us are what we would like to call selfish. It doesn't negate, though, the calling of being separate, holy, set apart. So, this is a call and a request for all who say they believe, all who say they follow, all who say they love God, that is. Put your money where your mouth is. Truly live a life separate from the world. Put God where he belongs on the throne. Don't care what people say. Don't care what people call you. Don't care if they call you homophobic. Any kind of phobic they can think of. They can call you a bigot. They can tell you don't love people. Let them say all that. There's only one person in life that you got to please, and that's God. Because at the end of it, the only one person that has say over where you end up is God. If you are a Christian, perhaps live what your title says, a separate life.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just text NEW CAR to 88909 right now to get started. That's NEW CAR to 88909. Auto financing the easy way. Text NEW CAR to 88909.